Hey guys, it's Jennifer, and today I am doing a November and December flip through. I know I didn't upload any in November or the beginning of December, mostly because end of the year is really busy for me. I'm a student, and also I work in retail, and November and December are the busiest time for the year, so I really don't have time to record and upload videos. And I'm also going to be including a very short yearly wrap-up. If y'all have questions about my reading at all this year, like my favorite books, my least favorite books, or anything like that about the books I read this year, please leave those questions in the comment section down below. If I get enough of those questions, I will make a video about it. Otherwise, I'll just answer them in the comment section. So, this is my November cover photo. I'm pretty sure y'all saw that in my last video with my October wrap-up. But let's just get into it. So, I started a new format here. Instead of doing the calendars like I was doing, I decided to do something a little bit more like a log. And I like this so much better. Because it looks fuller to me instead of wasting a huge space like this. I don't like that. I like this a lot more better. It looks more organized. And I also started to decide to read how much I read each day, so I can calculate how much I read each month. And as you see, I have these little circles down here. If you're more familiar with bullet journaling, you know that a circle with a slash means you started on that project, and with an X means you finished, and down here at the bottom with the arrow means you are migrating it. So I kind of developed this so I know exactly when I started a book, when I finished it, or if I didn't finish it this month at all. So let's get into the books I read. And of course, as always, if you don't want spoilers, don't read my notes. I finished the finale series back in November. This was the highest rating book I gave to the whole series. In all honesty, I didn't enjoy the series as a whole rereading it as an adult as I did when I was a teenager, so I'm probably getting rid of that series so I have more space on my shelf. I'm just glad that it had a happy ending. The main reason why I'm getting rid of the series because everything before the last book, there's too many questions that I have that go unanswered, and I feel like if the books were made longer, those questions that I had would have been answered, and it would have been a lot better series, in my opinion. And plus, I don't like petty little high school drama, so. Then I read The Antidote. It's a self-help book. I'm not really big on self-help books. I just don't find them interesting and never really provide good advice. But this self-help book is a little bit different. Happiness for people who can't stand positive thinking. So it basically kind of disputes what other self-help books promote. And I liked it in a sense. I don't like all of the ideas that it suggested, but I did like some of them. If you read them, you can kind of get an idea of what the book is about. It was a good book, but I did give it 3 stars simply because it's a self-help book, and I didn't really enjoy reading it. Then I read Animal Farm by George Orwell. I know a lot of people read this book back in high school, but I never had to, and I wanted to, so I did. And I like the fact that if you're just looking at the surface of this book, it literally just seems like a child's book, a messed up child's book. But if you actually know what it's about, like the Russian Revolution and whatnot, it holds more meaning, and I just like the whole format of the book, and it was a good book. I gave it 5 stars. I'm not going to give too much detail about this book because I'm sure most of you know what it's about, or have at least read it at some point. Alrighty, and then I read Black Lipstick Kisses by Monica Bell. I've never read any other books by Monica Bell before this, and I was not happy with it. It is an erotica, but the biggest problem I have with it is, well, there's two. One is the main character is supposed to be goth, but she is your cliche goth. Everything about her is 100% stereotypical, and there is no, I want to say no originality to her. I did not like the character. I'm completely fine with her not being tied down to a relationship and having open relationships. I think that's perfectly fine. That is not the reason why I don't like her. I just don't like the way this character was written. Everything else about her sucks. Also, I have a problem with the paranormal sex that goes on in this story. Nowhere on the back of this book does it suggest that there is paranormal anything in this book, and I feel like the writer just put it in there simply because she had nowhere else to go with this story, and she didn't want it to be the typical love triangle type of thing that was going on. I did not like it. Although I did appreciate at the beginning of her book, she says, "This is a fantasy book, please have safe sex, yada yada yada." And I also appreciate that every character in this book is very open with their sexuality. But all the good things about that book stops right there. Everything else was, it just wasn't. I was very disappointed with this book. And then I read No Safety in Numbers by Diana Lawrence, excuse me. Again, I didn't enjoy this book either. Oh, it's out of focus. There we go. Again, I didn't enjoy this book very much either. It had good potential. It's about basically a biohazard bomb was placed in the vents of a mall, and now everybody is being trapped in the mall because they don't want to spread the disease. And it had a very good premise. My problem was the writing and the lack of research that the writer obviously did not do. It was apparent to me that the writer didn't know the difference between isolation and quarantine, what the CDC and the feds would actually do if a situation like this would arise. It would have gone very differently. Face masks don't really protect you from getting sick from other people. It's more so to prevent your sickness getting to other people. And a whole lot of tiny miscellaneous things like that that would normally go over most people's heads. But since I'm a nursing major and I have taken a microbiology class, it is very apparent to me that she didn't do basic research. So I was very disappointed with the book, and also I believe it's from 3 or 4 different characters' points of view, one of them being Marco. And to me, Marco had next to no significance in the story. He was just there to be there. The only important part he had was finding the bomb. I'm not going to continue this series. I felt it was very flat and a lot of the information was incorrect, so I will not be continuing this series. And then I read Autobiography of a Face by Lucy Greeley, and it is an autobiography. I didn't put my stars here, but I believe I gave it 3 or 4 stars. The woman that wrote it, she was diagnosed with cancer as a kid, and it was growing in her jaw. So they had to remove a portion of her jaw. And it's basically about her growing up, what it was like, and, no one ever said the C word to her, cancer. So she never really recognized that, she had cancer, and that's what was going on with her. And, her mom felt like she couldn't, told her to be a strong girl when she was going through chemo, and that kind of enforced the idea to her that not showing or expressing your emotions is how you're strong, and that set up a lot of emotional problems for her while she was growing up. And also how people treated her differently while growing up because of her face. And overall, it's a very humbling book. very sad, but I did enjoy it. I don't remember what stars I gave it. I'm gonna take a peek real quick. I gave it 3 stars. Yeah, I gave this book 3 stars. And that doesn't reflect in here because I didn't finish that book until December the 6th. And then these are my stats. I started 5 books, or I finished 5 books, started 6. I read about 1,400 pages. Each book had about 262. Read about 47 pages a day. Read about 18 hours a day. Or no, I read 18 hours total this month. And I read about, it's 0.61 hours, so I'm assuming that's like 40-something minutes a day. I don't know. Can't do the math in my head. And these are, I read 2 young adult, 1 self-help, 1 satire, 1 erotica, 1 autobiography, 1 5-star, 1 4-star, 1 3-star, 2 2-stars with an average of 3.2. And all my books were paperback this month. And I love my December cover photo with my lovely Christmas lights, but as you can see, I barely read this month. And I accidentally switched this on the wrong side. I just went with it and continued. But I didn't read because I work in retail. Literally this week that you see that I haven't read any, it's because I worked almost every single day in December. And also because I didn't enjoy this book. And I'll talk to you why as we flip over. So I started Damned by Chuck Palahniuk. And it's about a girl that dies from a marijuana overdose. Yes, I know that's not possible, but I found it kind of funny type of thing. And now she's in hell, and it's basically her adventures with these friends she kind of makes with while she's in hell. I really liked the idea of this book, but it fell flat. Like the first 4 chapters were straight up flashbacks. And I understand to set up a story, you might need a chapter or 2 of flashbacks to set up the story, but it just kept going. I think literally about the chapter I DNF'd, which was like chapter 10, flashbacks, like over half of the chapters were flashbacks, and the story was going nowhere, and it was really boring. And that's also not only because I was so busy with work, but the time that I did have to read, I just didn't want to pick up the damn thing because I was not enjoying the story. It was way too slow. And then, what really pushed me to the edge to DNF it, one of the chapters, which was a flashback, really seemed pedophilic to me, and not of the characters, but of the writer himself. I DNF'd it after that. It just, because I was already kind of fed up with it, because I wasn't enjoying it, but that one chapter pushed me to the edge of not wanting to finish it. So, and then I read The Body Finder by Kimberly Durting. It is a part of a series. I believe there's 3 or 4 books in the series. I still haven't put my stickers in here, but I gave it a 5-star rating. Basically, it's about a girl named Violet. She has a ability to sense dead things, including animals and people. Well, there's a killer running around, and she's trying to find the killer, and there's a whole climax. I'm going to try to not ruin it. The story was really good. It was fast-paced for me. I was kind of worried that the relationship between Jay and Violet was going to ruin the story, but it didn't. And I like the end. Oh my gosh, I just about cried. But I did give it 5 stars because I thought it was really good, and it was the exact book that I needed to end the year and to get over such a crappy book beforehand. So, let's do the stats. So, I finished 2 books, started 2, I DNF'd 1. I didn't write that in there. I read only about 500 pages. Only read about 18 pages per day. Only read 7 hours. I read one adult fiction, one young adult fiction. It was also a mystery. I'm probably gonna wipe that out and put mystery. 1 5 stars, 1 3 stars, 1 none, with an average of 2.67, 1 paperback, and 1 hardcover. So this is my complete stats. Now, please keep in mind these stats are about an estimation, because I only started journaling about what I was reading in June or July. So over half a year that I didn't decide to reading. So I'm sure these numbers are off. I guarantee you I read more books, and I started more books, and I probably DNF'd more books. This is just what because when I first started journaling, I just kind of guessed, remembering everything that I wrote. I did put it in here, but it wasn't as organized. So these numbers are off. So these are about a guesstimation. So I finished, that I know of, 33 books. So next year's goal is going to be 38. Do 5 more. Read about 9,000 pages. I'm going to aim for 10,000 next year. Each book had about 221 pages. I read about 26 pages a day. And I was pretty proud with the different varieties of genres I read this year. I read 3 poems, 6 young adult, 1 romance, 3 sci-fi, 1 dystopian, 4 horror, 2 historical fiction, 3 adult fiction, 1 southern gothic, 1 true crime, 1 farce, 1 satire, 1 contemporary, 1 self-help, 1 erotica, 1 autobiography, and 1 mystery. And then you can see my ratings. Most of them were 3 stars. A good portion was 5 stars. And there was a pretty significant amount of 2 stars, I find, with an average of 3.0. And of course, most of the books I read this year were paperback. Again, if you have any questions that you want to know about my favorite books, my least favorite books, that sort of thing, if you want to know about those, ask me in the comments below. Again, if there's enough questions, I will make a video about it. Otherwise, I'll just answer them in the comment section. Thanks, guys, and I will see you again later.